My brother said, "We're family," after stealing my $15,000 card, so I had him arrested. I was holding a $10 piece of plastic where a $15,000 card used to be, and my brother's number was the last call in my recent history. The slab looked right from across the room. It always looks right from across the room. That's the whole point. I would come to understand the whole cruel, calculated point. But I was close now, close enough that the overhead light caught the PSA label at an angle, and something about the font made my stomach drop before my brain even caught up with why. I picked up my phone. I opened the barcode scanner. My hands were steady, because I hadn't fully understood yet what I was about to confirm. The scan came back in 3 seconds. Counterfeit. Let me tell you about the card first, because you can't understand what happened without understanding what it meant to me. Not the dollar figure, though $15,000 is not nothing, and I want to be honest about that, but the thing itself, the object, the history of how it came to sit on that shelf in my home office. My name is Libby. I'm 31 years old. I've been collecting Pokemon cards since I was 7, which means I have been doing this for almost my entire conscious life. It started the way it started for a lot of kids in the late 90s, a pack bought at a gas station, the specific papery smell when you tore the wrapper, the lottery ticket electricity of not knowing what was inside. I was hooked immediately and completely. I saved birthday money. I traded at school. I learned the difference between shadowless prints and first edition stamps before I learned long division. Most of my childhood collection got sold or lost or given away over the years, the way childhood things do. But I came back to it seriously in my mid-20s, when the market started climbing and the community around high-grade vintage cards became something real and documented and trackable. I learned to grade. I learned the PSA registry system. I learned which cards, in which conditions, held which value, and more importantly, I learned what it felt like to hold a piece of your own childhood history that had been preserved well enough to be objectively, certifiably perfect. The Charizard took me 4 years to acquire. PSA 10, first edition, base set, the card. If you know, you know. If you don't, I'll explain it simply. A first edition base set Charizard in PSA 10 condition is the holy grail of Pokemon card collecting. There are a finite number in existence that have ever received a perfect 10 grade. The market fluctuates, but in the current climate, mine was conservatively valued at $15,000 and realistically worth more to the right buyer. I found it through a private collector who was liquidating part of his collection. We negotiated for 6 weeks. I paid in 3 installments. When it arrived, I sat with it in my hands for a solid 10 minutes before I put it in the display slab on my office shelf, and I felt something I can only describe as completion, like a chapter of my life had closed itself properly. That card has sat on that shelf for 2 years. It has a specific spot, a specific angle. The light hits it in the late afternoon in a way that makes the holographic foil glow like something alive. I dust the shelf every week. I look at it every single day. Or I thought I did. My brother Dominic is 5 years older than me and has been a problem in our family for as long as I can remember, though the shape of the problem has changed over the years. When we were kids, it was smaller things, lying about homework, borrowing money from our parents and forgetting to pay it back. The particular talent he has always had for making his disasters everyone else's emergency. As he got older, the scale increased proportionally. The gambling started in his late 20s. Sports betting first, then casino apps, then the kind of thing that doesn't have a clean label but involves people you don't want to owe money to. My parents have bailed him out 3 times that I know of, probably more that I don't. He's asked me for money 4 times in the past 2 years. The first time I said yes. The second time I said yes with conditions he ignored. The third and fourth time I said no, and those conversations did not end well. Dominic is not a violent person. I want to be clear about that. He's not threatening or scary in a physical sense. He's something more specific and more exhausting. He is a person who genuinely believes that the people who love him owe him the resources to survive his own decisions. He has a whole internal framework where his debt is the family's problem, his consequences are the family's burden, and anyone who declines to participate is being cruel. He says things like, "We're blood," the way other people say please. Like it's a contract nobody agreed to but everyone is obligated to honor. He came to my house for dinner 8 days ago. My partner cooked. Dominic brought a bottle of wine that I later realized was the cheap kind with a fancy-looking label. Dominic's specialty, the presentation of generosity without the cost. He was in good spirits, which in retrospect, I should have read as a warning sign, because Dominic's good spirits usually mean he's already 3 steps into a plan. But he was charming at dinner, the way he can be when he wants something and isn't ready to ask for it yet. He told funny stories. He helped clear the table. He asked to use the bathroom and came back 5 minutes later, and we kept talking and I thought nothing of it. After dinner, I gave him the brief house tour I give everyone, because I'm proud of what we've built and I like showing it off. The home office, the shelves, the collection. He stood in front of the Charizard for a long moment. That the one, he said. That's the one, I said. How much is it worth now? More than when I bought it, I said, and I smiled because I was proud, and because I trusted my brother, and because I am a person who apparently had not yet learned the precise calibration of Dominic's desperation. 8 days later, Tuesday morning, I was doing my weekly office clean, the ordinary maintenance kind, Swiffer across the floor, dust cloth over the shelves, the small satisfying ritual of keeping the space clean. I worked my way down the display shelf the way I always do, left to right. I got to the Charizard slab, and I picked it up, the way I always do when I dust under it. And I looked at it, really looked, up close, with the overhead light fully on it. The PSA label. PSA uses a specific font, specific sizing, specific spacing between characters. I have held enough graded slabs over the years that the look of an authentic PSA label is lodged somewhere in my muscle memory, not conscious knowledge exactly, but the automatic pattern recognition that comes from thousands of hours of handling the real thing. This label looked wrong, slightly soft around the edges, the font not quite sitting where it should, the kind of wrong that is invisible from 2 feet away and undeniable from 2 inches. My mouth went dry. I grabbed my phone, opened a barcode scanner, held it up to the slab with hands that had gone very steady in that specific way hands go steady when the rest of your body is preparing for something bad. 3 seconds. Counterfeit. PSA barcode not recognized. This slab is not registered in the PSA database. The room was very quiet. I set the fake slab down on my desk. I sat in my chair. And I thought about Dominic standing in front of that shelf 8 days ago with wine and charm and a 5-minute bathroom break. And that's when the real bombshell dropped. Because it wasn't just that he'd stolen the card. If he'd stolen it and left a gap, I would have noticed within a week. I look at that shelf every day. He hadn't just taken the card. He had sourced a replica. He had bought a counterfeit PSA graded slab. The kind that AliExpress sells for somewhere between $8 and $15. The kind that is designed specifically to pass a casual glance, and he had brought it to my house that night, already in his pocket, and swapped it while he was using the bathroom. He had planned this. He had researched it. He had bought the fake in advance, which meant he wasn't acting on desperate impulse. He had been looking at my Charizard and calculating for long enough to order a prop. I sat in my chair for 63 seconds. I know because I watched the clock on my computer. Then I opened the PSA registry website. The PSA set registry is not just a place where collectors catalog their cards. It's a database with individual serial numbers. Every authenticated slab has a unique identifier, and every identifier is tracked, which means there is a paper trail. And more relevantly, there is a flag system. I logged into my account. I pulled up the Charizard's registry entry. I had the serial number memorized, because of course I did. I navigated to the card's individual record. There's an option in the registry that most casual collectors never need. A button that, if pressed and confirmed with documentation, flags the serial number as stolen property, sending an alert that propagates to the PSA database, to verified dealers, and to any point-of-sale system that runs PSA barcode checks. I pressed it. I uploaded the police report I was about to file. I confirmed. The card's status changed in the registry. Reported stolen. Do not purchase. Contact authorities. Then I called the police. The officer who came to take my report was professional and thorough. I showed him the fake slab. I showed him my registry documentation, the purchase records, the valuation. He confirmed that the theft of an item valued at $15,000 qualified as grand larceny, a felony, in our state. He filed the report. He gave me a case number. He also told me something useful, that if whoever took the card attempted to sell it to a licensed dealer, the scan would trigger the stolen alert, and the dealer would be legally obligated to detain the item and contact law enforcement. Standard procedure. I said, good to know, and I meant it in a specific way. I did not call Dominic. I want to be precise about this, because people keep asking. I did not call him. I did not text him. I did not give him any indication that I had discovered the swap, or filed the report, or flagged the registry. I blocked his number for the next 12 hours, because I didn't trust my own voice not to give something away if he happened to call. I thought about the timeline. Dominic has a debt problem, which means Dominic has urgency. A $15,000 card is not something you sit on when you're desperate, it's something you move fast, before anyone notices, before the situation gets complicated. He'd had the card for 8 days already, which meant either he hadn't found a buyer yet, or he was in the process. I thought about where someone like Dominic would try to sell something like this. Not online. Online leaves a paper trail, requires an account, takes time. In person, cash, a shop that deals in collectibles, and doesn't ask too many questions. There's a high-end hobby and comics shop about 20 minutes from my house. I've sold cards there before. They are reputable, which is specifically why they have a PSA barcode scanner at the counter. They use it for everything. I didn't go there. I didn't stake it out. I didn't do anything dramatic or cinematic. I just waited. My phone rang at 2:17 p.m. Unknown number. I answered because the officer had told me the case might generate follow-up calls from unfamiliar numbers. Is this Libby? A man's voice. Calm. Professional. Yes, I said. My name is Greg. I own a collectibles shop. I think you know the one. I have a gentleman here attempting to sell a first edition Charizard PSA 10. I ran the barcode. The registry is showing a stolen alert with your name as the reporting party and a police case number. I sat down. I'm stalling him, Greg said. Police are on the way. I just wanted to give you a courtesy call. Something moved through my chest that I still don't have a clean name for. Not triumph exactly. More like the feeling of watching a very long equation finally resolve. Thank you, I said. Thank you for doing that. We take this seriously, Greg said. This card is worth a lot of money, and somebody worked hard for it. I'll be in touch. He hung up. I sat in my kitchen, and I breathed slowly, and I thought about Dominic standing at that counter with his charm, and his bad plan, and the specific dawning horror of watching a routine barcode scan turn his whole scheme inside out. He called me 40 minutes later from a number I didn't recognize. His phone, I would learn, had been taken as part of the evidence processing, and he was calling from someone else's. I let it go to voicemail. I don't usually replay voicemails. I replayed this one 3 times, not out of cruelty, but because each time I needed to confirm I was hearing it correctly. His voice was ragged in a way I had never heard before, stripped of the smooth edges he usually maintains. He sounded like a man who had just watched a door close from the wrong side. Libby, please. I know what I did. Okay, I know, but you have to call them and drop it. Please, they are saying felony charges. I'll lose everything. I'll pay you back. I swear to God, I'll get you the money. Just please call them, Libby. We're family. Please, we're family. There it was. The trump card he always plays. The one that used to work on me. The one that I had let work on me more times than I care to count. Because I love my brother, and love makes you want to believe that the thing being asked of you is reasonable. That blood means something different than what it apparently means to Dominic, which is a resource to be accessed when other resources run out. I thought about the dinner 8 days ago, the wine with the fancy label, the laugh lines around his eyes when he was charming, the 5 minutes he was using the bathroom, the AliExpress fake that he had ordered and packed and carried to my house, planned, deliberate, patient in a way Dominic is never patient about anything except when he wants something badly enough. I thought about the fact that he had stood in my office and pointed at my Charizard and said that the one, while already knowing what he was going to do. I saved the voicemail for the police file. I did not call back. My mother called me the following morning. I knew she would. Dominic has always been able to reach our mother faster than law enforcement can process paperwork. It's one of his most reliable skills. Libby. Her voice was that specific tired frequency that I associate with every Dominic crisis going back 20 years. He's in serious trouble. I know, I said. He stole from me, Mom. I know what he did. He told me But felony charges, prison, Libby. He stole a $15,000 card, I said. He replaced it with a $10 fake and hoped I'd never look closely. That's not a mistake. That's not desperation, making bad choices in the moment. He planned it. He ordered the fake before he came to my house. A long silence. He's sick, she finally said, and she meant it, and I don't disagree with her. Addiction is illness. I believe that. I've read enough to believe that. But illness doesn't make the harm it causes disappear, and I have been absorbing Dominic's harm for 31 years. Mom, I said carefully, I love you. I love Dom, in the way you love someone even when they keep burning the same house down. But if I drop these charges, he will do this again, to me or to someone else, and the next person might not catch it in time. She cried. I stayed on the line until she didn't anymore. Then I told her I'd talk to her soon, and I meant it, and I hung up. The charges have not been dropped. The card hasn't been returned yet. It's being held as evidence. The detective on my case has been communicative, and I'm told the timeline is manageable. Greg at the hobby shop has offered to write a statement confirming the attempted sale, which he apparently does not find remotely inconvenient because, as he told me when I called to thank him properly, this happens more than people think, and we always call it in. There's something I've sat with a lot in the week since all of this happened, something that doesn't resolve neatly no matter how many times I turn it over. Dominic is my brother. We grew up in the same house with the same parents, shared holidays and inside jokes and the specific shorthand that only exists between siblings. Part of me grieves the version of him that might have existed if the addiction hadn't taken such a thorough hold. Part of me is exhausted past the point of grief. But here's what I keep coming back to. He didn't just steal from me. He stole from me and then replaced the evidence with a fake, counting on my trust to do the rest. He counted on me never looking too closely. He took the love I had for him, the family loyalty, the blood obligation he's always invoked, and he used it as the mechanism of his theft. The alibi was my own blind spot, and I refuse to be someone else's blind spot anymore. The voicemail is still on my phone. I've listened to it once more since then, not for satisfaction. Honestly, it doesn't feel like satisfaction. It feels like standing in a room after a fire has burned through it, the relief that the structure held, and the grief that the fire happened at all. I look at the empty space on my shelf, and I think about the afternoon light that used to catch that holographic foil. It'll be back. The card will come home. And Dominic will do whatever Dominic does next, somewhere that isn't my office. So tell me, because I genuinely want to know what you think. Is a $15,000 card worth a felony charge against your own brother? Or did Dominic answer that question himself the night he slipped a $10 fake into his pocket and rang my doorbell with a bottle of wine?
If you have made it this far and want to see more videos like this, then kindly subscribe and turn on notifications so you may never miss another story like this.